go. Let go, watching you turn your back like you always do. Face away and pretend that I'm not, that I'll be here cause you're all that I got. Let go, watching you turn your back like you always do. Face away and pretend that I'm not, that I'll be here cause you're all that I got. Let go, watching you turn your back like you always do. Face away and pretend that I'm not, that I'll be here cause you're all that I got. Let go, watching you, watching you. Turn your back like you always do. Turn your back like you always. Back, go, back, turn back, go, back, always go, back, watch, back, go, back. Face away and pretend that I'm not, that I'll be here cause you're all that I got. A little bit of disregard, handful of complaints, but I can't help the fact that everyone can see these scars. I want you to feel, but it's like no matter what I do, I can't convince you to just believe this is real. So let go, watching you turn your back like you always do. Face away and pretend that I'm not, that I'll be here cause you're all that I got. That I'll be here cause you're all that I got. That I'll be here cause you're all that I got. Turn your back like you always do. Face away and pretend that I'm not, that I'll be here cause you're all that I got. Let go, watching you turn your back like you always do. Face away and pretend that I'm not, that I'll be here cause you're all that I got. Face away and pretend that I'm not, that I'll be here cause you're all that I got. Face away and pretend that I'm not, that I'll be here cause you're all that I got. Let go, let go, let go. Watch, let go, 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 do. Face away and pretend that I'm not, that I'll be here cause you're all that I got. Let go, watching you turn your back like you always do. Face away and pretend that I'm not, that I'll be here cause you're all that I got.
Sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion, and the dragon gave him his power, and his seat and great authority. And I saw one of his heads, as it were, wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast, and they worshipped the dragon which gave power unto the beast. And they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints, and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and faith of the saints. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth, and them which dwell therein, to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword, and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand, or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666.
Move your body like a snake, ma.
3, 2, 1.
Who has heard the poem called The Snake? So I have it. Does anybody want to hear it again? You sure? Are you sure? So here it is, The Snake. It's called The Snake. On her way to work one morning, down the path along the lake, a tender-hearted woman saw a poor, half-frozen snake. His pretty-colored skin had been all frosted with the dew. "Poor thing," she cried, "I'll take you in, and I'll take care of you." The border. "Take me in, oh tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, oh tender woman," sighed the vicious snake. She wrapped him up all cozy in a comforter of silk and laid him by her fireside with some honey and some milk. She hurried home from work that night, and as soon as she arrived, she found that pretty snake she'd taken in had been revived. "Take me in, oh tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, oh tender woman," sighed that vicious snake. She clutched him to her bosom. "You're so beautiful," she cried. "But if I hadn't brought you in by now, oh heavens, you would have died." She stroked his pretty skin again and kissed him and held him tight. But instead of saying thank you, that snake gave her a vicious bite. "Take me in, oh tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, oh tender woman," sighed the vicious snake. "I have saved you," cried the woman, "and you've bitten me, heavens why? You know your bite is poisonous, and now I'm going to die." "Oh, shut up, silly woman," said the reptile with a grin.
You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in. That's why you bullshit.
Fool me once. Shame on you. If fool me, we can't get fooled again.
I have had it with these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane.
Everybody strap in.
saith the Lord, which is, and which was, and which is to come, the Almighty.
You've got mail.
Today's Daily Mail Call comes from the Proverbs chapter 17 from verses 24 through 28 entitled, The Eyes of a Fool. Wisdom is before him that hath understanding, but the eyes of a fool are in the hands of the earth. A foolish son is a grief to his father, and bitterness to her that bare him. Also to punish the just is not good, nor to strike princes for equity. He that hath knowledge spareth his words, and a man of understanding is of an excellent spirit. Even a fool, when he holdeth his peace, is counted wise, and he that shutteth his lips is esteemed a man of understanding. Once again, today's Daily Mail Call comes from the Proverbs chapter 17 from verses 24 through 28 entitled, The Eyes of a Fool. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of My Journey with Yah. You know, I have to admit that after the last live I did, I kind of wanted to just, I just wanted to take a huge break after that, only because I began to think and said to myself that maybe maybe I don't know as much as I do. Maybe my faith is not as strong as it is. Maybe I'm not wise enough to, share my ideas and spread God's word. And so I took quite of a break, but during that time, because of a posting that Hulk had, which led me to a video by I believe his name is Cliff Netchell. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but he goes to these college campuses and he doesn't necessarily debate unless he has to, but what he does is he tries to point out to young minds to do the research of the validity of Christ. And I started binge watching these videos, and I know there's a lot more, but during watching these videos, man, I learned a lot. And although there are moments where I'd start yelling back at the screen, I was watching how Cliff composed himself in many of these discussions he's had with a lot of these young people, and it made me realize that, man, I got so much I got to learn. So, I was trying to make the conscious decision to just learn as much as I can before I can come up here and talk. But, something inside me today said that I have to. I have to speak on the things that I've learned. And, the scripture today, the Daily Mail call. Let me pull it up again so that we can get an understanding of how this relates to what I've been feeling lately. So let's go here. This is Proverbs chapter, let me see. Let me get my book real quick. Proverbs, let's see. Proverbs chapter 17 from verses 24 through 28. The eyes of a fool. Okay, let me just read this. Wisdom is before him that hath understanding, but the eyes of a fool are in the ends of the earth. A foolish son is a grief to his father, and bitterness to her that bare him. Also to punish the just is not good, nor to strike princes for equity. He that hath knowledge spareth his words, and a man of understanding is of an excellent spirit. And this was key for me. Well, not just today's read, but me having to understand that sometimes you just got to shut up. Because it's the best way to learn, right? But let me finish this. Even a fool, when he holdeth his peace, is counted wise, and he that shutteth his lips is esteemed a man of understanding. And I don't think I'm the only one with this kind of problem that, sometimes we want to talk over somebody because we're trying to win some kind of conversational debate or something like that. And I'm beginning to understand that you may try your best to share the gospel with people, and ultimately people are going to have to either accept or reject. And the problem with a lot of these youngsters that go to these colleges, it's unfortunate that their hearts are so dark. And I know that's not by accident. There's a lot of things that could be going on here. There could be no education about God in the home. The parents just don't care. Maybe there is God in the home, but maybe what they're doing is they're teaching their children to look at to view God as church. And I have a problem with that, because when you start holding church in high regard over Christ Almighty himself, then we have a problem, because you're not living for Christ at that moment. You're living for the church. You're trying to prove that your denomination is more superior than the other, when the focus should be Christ. Either that, maybe they're just influenced by their parents who are non-believers themselves. And it's a very scary thing to witness when I see all these videos, man. And I've watched a lot. We're talking about more than a week now that I've been watching these things. Not for my entertainment purposes, but I tend to learn a lot of things just watching these videos, observing how Cliff handles himself, how he is so patient, and he's been doing this for a few decades. And even though it's repetitive, I guess you can say the point that he makes, and I guess you could say his arguments as well, it's the same thing. He says the same thing over and over again. But there's always this, with him, there's this patience that I say to myself, like, I don't even have that. I know myself. And when people start throwing something at me, I'm guilty of letting my feelings get the best of me. I'm very guilty of that. I think my last stream kind of proved that point when I couldn't even hold myself together in the beginning of the last stream. I let my feelings get to me. So I had to do a lot of maturing. I had to do a lot of growing up. I had to do a lot of learning. I had to do a lot of shutting up. And that's the best way to learn. When you don't say anything, when you open your ears and close your mouth, that's the best way to learn. There is no learning when your mouth is wide open and your ears are shut. The mouth is the one that makes the information exit out. The ears are the one that makes the information go in. And we all have a problem with that. I know I'm not the only one. It would be a lie to say to somebody out there that, oh, I don't have that problem. So we all do. We all do. Before I go any further, let me go back to the screen here real quick. Let me say hello to people out in the chats. Because without you guys, I'd be streaming to just air. So let's start with the YouTubes. That's where the crowd is. Del Griffith, Daryl Calhoun, Joey Trujillo, I Love Jesus, Cynthia Ava. Let's see who else is out there. Rob Tick. What's up, brother? Good evening to you guys out in the YouTube lands. Thank you for joining me tonight. Out on the Foxhole, I got Lady Beamy, and I also have Warrior in the Garden. I appreciate you guys hanging out. And I did have somebody, which is surprising me. I don't usually get anybody on the Twitch end, but I did have somebody tap in earlier. Templar Knight, thank you for tapping in. So I want to thank all you guys first and foremost for coming over, and because you can be anywhere, you know, but you chose to hang out with me tonight, and I'm very humbled by that. What's going on, Axiom Descent? Good evening. All right, so I want to discuss this because this is very scary. That a majority of the youth these days, it could be things that they're learning in school too. Could be very well with the things that they're learning in school. I'm pretty sure that that's a big influence on things. Not only that, but look at how pop culture has also promoted ungodliness. It's very dangerous to see that the future is looking very grim. And I don't say that in a way where I'm pessimistic or anything like that. I just see it for what it is, and I say to myself, if this is how the majority of people are going to be, then it's not looking good. And I know there's probably some young people out there who promote Christ the best way they can. But we're being overshadowed by this huge gray cloud of atheism, agnosticism, new age. It's very depressing to see too that a lot of these young people think that way. But that could be like I said, that's probably the fault of the parents who don't educate, and maybe the parents just don't believe either. You know? I think having a great relationship with your children should be a good proof of that God's love does exist. Because if we have a phenomenal relationship with our children, then it just displays how God loves us. I mean, where else does that feeling of love come from? And I hear these students saying something to the effect of, well, it's all chemicals that come together and create this I don't know what you call it, but some kind of effect to make you feel some certain way. I beg to differ that. I don't accept that. I don't accept a bunch of chemicals or molecules come together to make us feel a certain way. I refuse that. That comes from something more deeper than just that. Because if that was the case, I think we'd be pretty empty. We would just be living at that point. Because stuff like that does not create love. Does not create love at all. A lot of people say, oh, the Big Bang. Well, how does something come from nothing? How does that happen? Let's trust science. All the scientists now, we're able to live. Our expectancy of life is now extended. Let's trust all the scientists. Really? You want to trust a bunch of people that they're right because they have a degree saying that they're scientists? Did we forget that in Nazi Germany that they had the greatest scientists? And what happened? What happened when they had the greatest scientists? The Holocaust happened because of science. This is a very dangerous path that the youth is going through, man. It really is. They're not, they're irrational thinkers. They decide their lives too much with what they feel. There's no logic to that. Because we all have different feelings at certain times, at certain situations. They change all the time. Right? There's no logic to making a decision based on what you feel. Because if that was the case, well, today I feel like Superman, so I'm going to go up a 10-story building, I'm going to jump off and I'm going to fly because I feel like I'm Superman. What's the truth on that? The truth is I'm going to fall down and I'm going to die. If I do live, I'm probably going to break a few bones, become brain damage, something, a quadro. This is very dangerous, man. And the way that these young people, man, they feel that they say that they're the most educated generation. But see, they don't realize that education doesn't mean that makes you more smarter. Because the way I see it, the way I've noticed, is that the more they're educated through whatever information they're getting now, they're becoming a lot more stupid. They're thinking less and believing what, quote, scientists or science has given them. And I go back to the argument of, well, Nazi Germany had phenomenal scientists ahead of their time. And what happened? They used all that knowledge for bad. They don't put the human factor in it that maybe we make mistakes as humans. They don't put that factor in. Maybe we're not as perfect as we think we are. Well, I wouldn't even say maybe, because we're not as perfect as we think we are. We're full of flaws, man. We're full of flaws. And these children think that they're good. Oh, really? You're good? Maybe your intentions of doing things are good, but that doesn't necessarily make you good. I'm pretty sure that people have done a lot more bad than good in their lives. I can tell you just straight up from my experience that I definitely do a lot more bad than good. There's a lot of bad thoughts that go through my mind every day, more than good. Sometimes they just pop up, man. You know, because I've been immersed in evil thinking for a long time, and of course that it takes a long time for that to get out, like for it to stop. It takes a long time. It takes a lot of work, especially when you have a relationship with Christ. It makes it a little bit easier, but it's still. But now that you know Christ, you're holding yourself to a standard that's a little bit higher than what you used to be. Because that's what I do. I definitely hold myself to a higher standard than I before I had a relationship with Christ, because I know him now and I know what he's done for me. Man, it's very, very sad to see that a lot of children, they think they're so smart. And I'm not trying to dunk on these people. I really am. It's just, it's very educational for me to see these things. And it's also, it also makes me feel like, man, the devil's agenda is being pushed so well. It's being pushed so well, man. And I'm not saying that I'm giving up, but we really have a spiritual battle in front of us, more than we have a physical battle. I can say that this spiritual battle is going to be a lot more difficult to fight than we think. But of course, God wins in the end. We already know this. But to try to get people to come to Christ, not by force. Of course not by force, because that wouldn't be love, right? It wouldn't be free will if we force them. But a lot of these children, man, they just don't have the open-mindedness to at least look into the scriptures and read it for themselves to determine whether or not they want to believe or not. They go based on these little short clips that are on the internet. That's how they get. I'm pretty sure that a lot of them get their information that way. They look at an article's headline, not even reading what's in the article, and believing what the headline says. It's probably the same with video clips too, right? They see a short and believe that that's true. Or if they want to disprove that, they go and find another short video to disprove it. There's no more critical thinking, man. And it's unfortunate because God gave us this beautiful mind. He gave it to us. He told us to be skeptical. And that's another thing that they're missing too, is that they don't realize that God told us that we have to be skeptical about things. Because during the days that we're living in right now, there will be a lot of false teachers, a lot of false prophets. Right? But they skim through that. They don't, they say that they read, but do they really read? They probably don't read. They probably just read it and skim through it, but they don't read it and understand the context and all these things. I admit, man, I never used to read the Bible. And when I did start reading the Bible, I wasn't reading it in a way where I was just reading it. But I started reading it later and trying to understand the characteristics of Christ and what Christ says, how we should live, how we should treat each other. The youth, man, they're just missing it. They're not open-minded to at least read for themselves. They rather trust what people tell them. And a lot of these professors, man, I'm not saying all, but a lot of these professors, they cringe when they hear the name Jesus. That's another thing too, man. The hate for Christ is so overwhelming. People get really upset when they hear the name of Jesus Christ. And I think another thing is being confused here too. I think, and it's the fault. It's definitely the fault of a lot of these misrepresented churches. Because now, you know, when people see the hypocrisy in certain churches, they equate that to everybody. Everybody who believes is like that. And then you have other people who profess to be, quote, Christians, who tell people that, oh, they're going to hell because they don't believe. I'm beginning to learn that that's the wrong way to present Christ. God doesn't send anybody to hell. People choose to live their life away from Christ, so they decide for themselves that they want to go to hell. Because at the end of this life, right, we're either going to go to heaven, we're either going to go to a good place or a bad place. And obviously the bad place is a place away from God, which is going to be opposite of God, which is good. Right? But they think that, oh, I want that person to go to hell. God's going to say, I want that person to go, I want that person. No. People decide that for themselves, man. And people are not even intellectually honest about why they don't believe. That's another thing too. I've noticed even when they're cornered with a good point, they always want to revert to something else. If they truly believe to be a non-believer, or, you know, like there's no God, then why even argue the point of why that person thinks that they're right? Why even bother having a debate? If it's all pointless, who cares? They can't be intellectually honest. Man, pride kills, man. Who? Pride. Makes you blind, makes you deaf. Hardens your heart. You don't even want to hear what other people's got. You don't want to even hear what they have to share. It's sad, man. It really is. Man, I'm so glad to be, you know, watching these videos, because I'm learning from these things. It's definitely maturing my journey with Yah. It definitely is maturing me. Although I'll be shouting at the screen, calling people names because of my feeling. Here I am watching Cliff, and he's like, I'm just, my jaws just dropped. Like, wow, this guy has so much patience. And a lot of these kids even throw out arguments that are irrational, that has nothing to do with it. Matter of fact, I'm going to be sharing a video here. We'll go through the video, and I want you to see, because this is not only with the youth, but this is also people who are deep into whatever it is that they believe in. Many of them are driven by feeling, passionate feeling. Fair enough. But once you have once you have some feeling, and that's pushing what you believe in so hard, sometimes rationality just escapes the mind. And you don't want to hear what other people's got to say that could be rational and contrary to what your belief is. We shouldn't get angry at that. We should think about it. We should hear it and think about it and make a decision on our own. But we can't just make a decision just not listening to somebody else. All right. So let's go ahead and start sharing this video here. And man, I don't know if this is going to be cut off from the tubes, but I'm going to share this video. Of course, I'm going to pause it here and there, so then, you know, I don't get kicked out of the tubes, but hopefully I don't. And I think this is an important thing to see, because this doesn't only apply to the youth who don't believe, but it also applies to people who have a view, a worldview on certain things, whether it be a conservative or Democrat or capitalist or communist. People have certain types of views, but I think they get that skewed with what they feel. You know? So I'm going to play this. And you can see the immaturity on the young person. You can see the immaturity. But what really blew my mind is the patience of Cliff. So let's go ahead and see this video real quick. I'm going to put myself on mute so you guys can hear it, and I'll be pausing it from time to time.
Politics is what we need in order to achieve our material basis. If we don't define materialism in our age, if we don't define what our material needs are, how can we have any sort of moral standing? All right, if you're poor, if you work 13 hours a day, struggling to feed your kids, struggling to put a roof over your head, what kind of moral society do you live in that says that's fine? That you
Okay, I already got a problem with this, because he's thinking in a materialist point. He's already thinking in a materialist point, so I already got an issue with that. You know. But let's keep on. Let's listen to what the young man, the future of the country, the future of the world. Let's listen to what this great mind has to say. And I don't mean that in a condescending way, but unfortunately, a lot of people think this way. A lot of people do think this way.
deserve that because you work a 9 to 5 hour job, that you deserve that. You deserve to live in poverty. You deserve to have on you every single day. What kind of moral system is that? And furthermore, what has any religious institution ever done to help the working people?
Who defines your moral system? Who defines your moral system?
The masses. The masses define it.
All right. So he says that the masses define the moral value or the morality of people. There's a huge problem with that. There's a huge problem with that. I think we can see in history that the masses, the majority of people that decide what morality is, I think we already know that history has shown that there's a huge problem with that. Right? We've seen what's happened in Nazi Germany. We've seen what's happened in Russia during World War II. We've seen what's happened in China during Mao Zedong. But let's continue on. Let's continue here.
So you take a public survey of the masses, and then whatever the masses decide.
The masses go by the material interest. If the material interests are met by the masses, then that is what signifies a morally justifiable system. If you have a religious system that just says, hey, guess what? You know, you believe in this, you're going to do right, everything will be fine in the afterlife. What does that mean for the material benefits of the people now?
So if the masses of Nazi Germany decide that Jews need to be gassed,
you're talking about a privilege.
All right. Now you see what I mean about how these young people, because once you start pressing them a little bit, right? And that's a valid point that Cliff has made, because I just made that point too, right? Once you start showing them the history, like straight up history, that's not deniable. Once you start pressing a lot of these youngsters about these real facts, then they start to yell over you because they don't want to hear it. That's a huge problem. You know, that this flies so perfectly with today's read. Because this young person doesn't have he's not humble enough to be quiet and learn something. He'd rather just keep on yelling over Cliff, thinking that he's right. You can't learn that way. You sound like a bumbling idiot, to be quite frank. not trying to hurl any insults, but you do sound like a bumbling idiot when you don't give time for the person to explain their point after you have asked the question. People think that yelling over somebody else is going to win some kind of debate or argument. No, that's not the case, man. In order for you to make great points is how you win a debate. I'm not talking about debates, but this is a big problem with a lot of young people. They don't want to hear. They don't want to hear anything. They only want to hear what they want to hear. And they want to be able to say what they want to say. And what they say is gold. It's truth. You know, at some point, we all have to face some kind of truth, right? Whether it be something that's going to make us happy, whether it's going to be something that's going to make us not happy. At some point in time, we have to face the truth. And the truth will stand, whether we like it or not. Let me keep on going with this video.
Jews, right? No, you're talking about an incredibly relativistic culture in which you say right and wrong are defined by majority opinion. Fine, but realize that at times majority opinion is immoral, like Nazi Germany.
That was from an imperialist nation. How do you... You're talking about someone, a nation that had...
All right, you see how this crumbles down already? He even knew it before he even said imperialist, because he knew that the masses during that time knew, they decided what morality was. And then he realized that, oh man, I made a big mistake thinking that the masses of people get to determine what is moral and not. You saw it in his little smirk. He knew. But yet, you know what he does? He doubles, triples, quadruples down and just keeps on blabbering what he says. He just keeps on going, making himself look like a fool. And what blows my mind about this is a lot of people would start clapping for him, applauding him. But then again, they're the same age as this young man. These are people. These people like to call other people racist, Nazis, and all these things. Or what's the other word that they like to use? Man, it's slipping my mind right now. Fascist. Not realizing that they're the ones who are acting fascist themselves. And look, I'm not talking from a political point of view. I'm not talking in a political point of view here. This is just to prove this fits perfectly with today's read. People who think that they are wise they're really stupid. They really are. And they're very loud about being stupid. They have no filter. They don't have a degree of being humble at all. And it's unfortunate that a lot of parents who always praise their children as being, quote, smart, they don't have a clue of what they're learning. A lot of parents, they don't take the time to see what their children are learning. All they want their children to do is get good grades, not realizing that a lot of these school systems are pushing out a lot of this BS. I'd rather have my child get D's and C's, but have a rational thinking brain, other than my child just going with the masses and turning out like this. Because this is going to lead to the whole destruction of humanity. This. You may disagree with me, but honestly, this kind of thinking is definitely going to lead us off a cliff. And a lot of people are going to be cheering for them to go off the cliff if this is how the future is looking. Literally, the blind will be leading the blind. And that's scary. It's not scary for me, because who knows, I with my age, I mean, I'm not that old, But my age is, I'm older. What I am scared for is my children. I'm scared for my son, who's in his mid-20s, and my daughter, who's only 12. And they have to deal with these people. What's even worse is my daughter, because, it seems to be getting even more radical every generation. And she's nothing like these kids, man. Some of the kids that she interacts with, mind you, she's homeschooled, but when she goes outside and plays with some of these kids, like it's all about me. It's sad, man. Let me continue with this.
Overwhelming material interests. You're talking about a nation that had military supremacy in Africa. You're talking about a nation that was willing to annihilate 3/4 of the world population, and they're still around today. People think that the Nazis died in 1945. We still have Nazis marching down our streets, and all you can think to do is pray for us? No. What does that even mean?
What are you getting so upset about Nazism for?
Because it's back, and it's taking over everything. We have to do everything in our mouth to fight it.
All right,
what are you going to do about it?
Why?
Are you going to be out in the streets fighting the Nazis? I doubt it.
Oh, buddy.
You see how these feelings are conjuring up to make him an irrational thinker? Because the very thing that he hates, he is becoming. He's molding exactly into that thing that he hates. This is what happens when you fail to open up your ears to what people has got to say in order for them to at least try to educate you about things that you don't know. Now, Cliff is a way older man, which probably means he's probably got a lot more life experience than that guy does. Maybe he can learn a few things from him. But you see, a lot of these young people, they don't have this humbleness about themselves. The word humble is just not even I don't even think it's in the dictionary. If it is, why aren't they teaching it? This is very sad, man. And parents should be held responsible for all these things that they're being indoctrinated with in the schools that they're going to. Good grades do not equate somebody who's intelligent at all. Not at all. Because they can be teaching anything. And if you can get a good grade in something that's immoral, does that make you intelligent? Parents should be held responsible for this. This is evil. Let's continue.
I get more than enough opportunities to confront Nazism.
Really? Have you punched a Nazi? Have you gone out in the streets and decked a Nazi? Have you done that?
No. I have never decked a Nazi.
Really? Then you're not helping. You're doing nothing.
No. I debate Nazis, okay?
Debating them?
Why are you so upset?
Them?
Why are you so upset? I love your moral outrage. But please explain to me.
Why I'm upset?
What's the basis of your moral
outrage? Because in Weimar,
outrage?
Germany, they tried to debate the Nazis. You know what they had? Street thugs, brown shirts out in the streets, beating people down, calling the press the Lugan press, the lying media. We hear the over and over and over again. Fascism is back, and you're doing nothing. And you're sitting around trying to get an audience about, hey, we're going to fix everything. You're not fixing unless you're actually in the streets taking direct action.
Look at that. No self-control whatsoever. And he's just having it. This is supposed to be just a conversation, a debate, an intellectual conversation. But there's no intellect here. Rather, the feelings have taken over, and now he can't even compose himself. This is what's wrong with the youth today. They make feelings dictate what's right and wrong. They can't even compose themselves in having an intellectual conversation. How are good ideas supposed to be implemented if we don't communicate with each other first? The first step is talking to each other, whether we agree or not. We have to have an honest, that's key word right there too, an honest intellectual conversation. But no, with the youth, this is what we're getting. This is what they're producing. This is what children are being produced to be. A dark-hearted person. Me. It's always me. I'm right, you're wrong. I know more than you do because I'm a more educated person than you are. Like I said, man, just because you go to a college and have a bachelor's, master's, doctorates, whatever, PhD, whatever the case is, that doesn't mean that you're smarter than I am. But this is what schools are producing nowadays. Their hearts have just been ice cold. Ice cold. Let me continue on.
You're doing nothing for the material interest of the people. What are you doing about poverty? What are you doing about homelessness? What are you doing about people who are disabled? The people in the LGBTQ
what do you
community,
think Jesus
the people
Christ
in the trans
commands
community,
his
the people in
followers
the
to
Muslim
do?
community. What are
Come
you
on,
doing
think.
for them? You're
No, you
doing
gotta
nothing.
think. That's not true. What has Jesus Christ commanded his followers to do about the poor, about the naked, about those who are starving? What has Christ commanded his followers to do? Do you have any idea? What has he commanded us to do? If I put my faith in Christ, what does he command me to do about injustice, about the poor, about the starving? What has he commanded? Do you know?
Tell me, what does he say?
He has commanded his followers to feed the hungry, to clothe the naked, to stand against injustice and evil.
Then are you a capitalist, sir?
All right, you see where that went? He wasn't even talking of a social, what do you call that? A social status. He wasn't talking about any kind of social status, and here he goes. Well, do you believe in capitalism? What does that have to do with the conversation? He's telling you the teaching of Christ Almighty. You asked what Christ taught. He was answering your question. And now that he's answered your question, now you want to say something that's totally off topic and say, oh, so do you believe in capitalism? What does that have to do with anything? I'm sorry, but this is the direction of a lot of young people. I'm not saying all. But the majority of children are like this. When they feel that they're losing a debate, they'll veer off to something else that has no relevancy to what the conversation's about, what the intellectual conversation's about. This is very, very grim if we're relying on the youth to lead this, to lead the world, to bring forth the future. It's very grim. And I'm not trying to be a pessimist, but we got to think of some way in order for us to deliver the message of Christ to these children, man. And right now, at this age, when you're in your late teens and early 20s, and I'm guilty of it, I think all of us are. We don't want to hear what people's got to say. We're right. I was guilty of it. I don't want to hear what older people had to tell me. I just wanted to do me. But as a result of wanting to do what you want to do, it leads to despair. It may make you feel good in the present time. But I think people tend to forget that the body changes as you get old. The mind changes as you get old. And if you're not fulfilled with something greater than yourself, which is God Almighty, then what's the point? What's the point? Why are you getting so angry? What's the point? If you want to continue to go on and do what you want to do without believing that there is some higher power that gives you that consciousness inside of you, then what is the point of living? Why are you argue? Why even argue? It just keeps on going on to other stuff, and I think that's enough for now, because I'm getting kind of heated up with this. But another point that I wanted to make is that a lot of these people who live this, who kind of have this thinking, they're not honest with themselves. Why is it that they can't just say that the reason why I don't want to believe is because I don't want to be held accountable to the things that I want to do for myself to make me feel good? Why can't people just be honest and say that? Why do they have to make some kind of excuse of, oh, there's not enough evidence to support? Why can't people just be honest about that they don't want to believe because they don't want to be held responsible? Nor do they want somebody to tell them that, hey, what you're doing is bad. What you're doing is wrong. If they love themselves so much, if they're so boastful and prideful of themselves, well, why can't you be honest about why you really want to believe the way you believe? Let's be honest. But no, they don't want to. They want to play these stupid games about there's not enough evidence. The Bible contradicts itself. People don't want to be honest. People who don't know Christ, they don't want to be honest. Now, if you are a true follower of Christ, you are honest with yourself. And you know that you're no greater than anybody. And you boast to people saying that, yes, I do need Christ because I can't do it on my own. I need Jesus' grace because I won't be able to handle the things that Christ went through if judgment came to me, and if I had to deal with the same punishment that Jesus did. I couldn't handle that myself. Let's be honest. This is why I love Christ. He bared all that BS for me and everyone else's BS. He did that all for us. Because I couldn't do it. You couldn't do it. You couldn't do it. None of us could do it. None of us. And if you say that you can, then you're lying to yourself because you can't. Nor would you do it for any other person's sins as well. This is what we're surrounded by with the youth, man. Majority. I would say majority. And when it comes to God's army, it doesn't matter about the numbers. It matters who has the power, right? Ultimately, God wins. But because I follow Christ, because we all follow Christ, and I know you guys in the chats follow Christ too, we have that responsibility to try to share the gospel in a way where we make those young people think. We offer it to them for them to do their own reading and to figure it out. That will be a huge challenge. I challenge everybody to do that. We should be doing that. But when you do it, don't come across as somebody who's trying to prove a point, man. If you got points to make it and just let it be. And if they don't want to accept, then they don't want to accept. They're going to have to face that when their time comes. You know, another thing that they bring up too is, well, why does God create all this death and destruction, all these things? Don't you think that for us Christ followers that we believe that God is a just God? Don't you think that people will eventually be punished for the wrong and wickedness that they've done? Don't you think? There has to be punishment for things that are bad, right? But they don't see that. They don't want to hear that. Why do people get sick? Well, because in the beginning, when there was Adam and Eve, they chose not to they chose to disobey God. They chose to disobey him. And what happens when he stepped away? That's when all sin entered the world. That's when we started, our bodies and all these other things started coming in that weren't godly, because we've decided that we don't want God around us. But you know, these people, you can give them all these rational explanations, and it's not proof, because we can't prove anything, right? But it's all these evidential things that we can present to them. And all they do is deny all the time. Deny. When in actuality, what they're doing is they're running away from not wanting to take responsibility for the BS that they do. They want to do as thou wilt. Oh, man. I know I'm a little bit heated by this, but you see, somebody who has children and who loves Christ, I care. I care a lot. Let me see what's going on in the chats, man. I know I've been yapping it up and not having a back and forth with the people out in the chats, but let me see. Oh, Templar Knight, you're here on the YouTube side. Welcome in. Let me see who else is here. Let me see who else is here. The Narrow Way, good evening. Tree Gamble, good evening. Let me see. Am I still on? Because I see a spiraling thing on my screen here. I'm not sure if I'm still on. Of course I'm not connected to the internet. Am I back on? Am I on? Let me see. Check. Hello? Okay, I'm back on. Well, how convenient of the internet just to go out, right? How convenient of that. Let me see who else is up in the chats here. Shulamite, what's going on? Let me see if I greeted. Yeah, I pretty much greeted everybody. Well, thank you. How convenient, right? A message like this is important. All of a sudden, I lose my internet connection. Anyhow, kind of lost my train of thought there. Let me see what's going in the chats here. On the Foxhole, we got Warrior in the Garden. He says, most people don't want to take the responsibility. That's the truth. But I mean, if they're going to live a certain way, they're going to have a certain kind of mindset, then live out what you believe that you are, honestly. Don't go toying around, playing these games, Because now you're not living in your own reality that you've decided that you are, like you have. If we're going to live in reality, let's live in the reality that we have for ourselves. And let's not say that, oh, well, you're not being honest with yourself, man. You know, and that's sad. You know why it's like that, though? The reason why they toy around with this is because they know deep down inside what they believe it's not right. That's their conscience, man. And that's exactly what God has implanted in each and every one of us. He's implanted that consciousness so that it gives us a limit to what we can't go past. What we believe is right and wrong, that doesn't come from chemicals. That comes from God. That comes from a beautiful mind of God who's given that gift to us. But people, they don't want, you know, I don't understand the toying around. That I don't understand. If people want to believe a certain way, then live it out and see how far you get with that. I guarantee suicide rates will probably be higher because if they really believe in what they say, a lot of them are going to end up, they're going to be empty. And they're going to ask themselves, what's the whole purpose of this whole thing? You see, a lot of them, man, and I'm a good example of that because when I was chasing after the bag, you know, I guess these young people call it the bag now, right? Chasing, we used to call it chasing paper. I was able to get all these things and go eat out in expensive restaurants, drive luxury cars, take trips, go gamble, and not even worry about how much I lose because I can always gain that back in overtime. I didn't care about it. But at the end of the day, that left me empty inside, man. I was still trying to look for something else to fulfill that void, and it wasn't filling it. Matter of fact, the more I earned, the more I lost at home. That's what happened. The more I chased after the bag, the more I was losing my family. People don't realize the emptiness of not having a God in their life, or having God, because there's only one. There's only one true God. I mean, people can believe whatever they want to. But if the evidence is so strong that it points you to the God of the Bible, what can you do? Let's see what's going on here in the chats. Shulamite says emotional drive. Oh, wait. You're probably talking to somebody else. Joy says, if I could walk on my hands, my body, it's probably a different conversation there. All right, I'll start with Axiom. Without him, we can do nothing. We have a natural inability because of sin. Absolutely. And that's what they're missing. They think they're good. How do you think you're good if you feel a certain type of way? If you have, we're not good, man. But these young people think that their works, because they do good works, they think that that's good. Well, what if you're doing the works in order for you to advance in whatever it is that you want to do in life? What if that's your motivation to do good? That's not good, because that good is not coming from the right place. There's nothing that we can do. That's the truth. You can try to live the best life you can as a, quote, good person, but sin is always going to creep in, no matter what. Whether you try to fight that off or not, sin will always creep in there. If it's not by action, definitely your thoughts. So what you're telling me, sir or ma'am, is that you've never lusted over somebody? You've never had a feeling of jealousy over somebody? You never envied somebody because of what they had and you didn't have? Or because they were in a certain position that you wanted to be at your own job? naive of these people who think that way. And they can believe, look, I'm not saying that what I believe is right. I don't have to say that. I think at the end of everything, when judgment is done, I think that'll prove everything is right. Because, you know, the truth is we can't prove anything. Anything in life can't be proven by, I mean, you can have evidence that points to the direction of proof, but you cannot 100% prove anything. Right? Okay. Joy says, I was speaking about how the body changes over time. Hey, that's the truth, man. That's the truth for each and every one of us, whether we accept that or not. The body changes, whether we like it or not, because my body, man, I tell you, man, today is a good example. I'm working out today, right? I'm working out. And back when I was younger, I didn't have to take breaks in between my sets, but here I am, man. I'm huffing and puffing, and I'm saying, man. Well, not only that, it's not only the age, but I'm a fatty. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a fatty. I got some pouches that I'm carrying around my abdominal area. But I said, man, I didn't have to used to take this long of a break in between sets, but here I am. And that's a result of the body and the body getting older, and also the extra weight that it's been carrying for quite some time. But at least I've been consistent at working out for the past half year, man. Let's see. I Love Jesus says, on another side, I am seeing more young Christian YouTubers, which give me hope. Yes. I've noticed that too. And I'm so happy for that. There is hope. But, you know, I'm basing this all on the videos that I've been watching, and there's a lot of these videos, man. There's a lot of these videos, and there's a lot of students that think this way. You know? They don't want to have to do the work. You know, I think part of it too is that they don't want to have to do the work to figure it out. It's not important to them at their life at that moment. And I think that's a big part of it. Like, they don't want to waste their time. They think it's a waste of time, but to be honest, man, if you don't think about where your life is going to be after this life, you know, that's pretty sad. I think a lot of people need to get their priorities straight about where they're going to end up, because eventually the truth, here's the truth for everybody, no matter what you believe in. The truth is we're going to die. That's the truth. Don't you want to figure out what happens after we die? Because according to God, this life is but a blink of an eye, right? It's but a blink of an eye. I can tell you right now, my purpose in life is to at least try to spread the gospel the best way I can. I may not be the most articulate person. I may not be the most intelligent person. But I'm a very passionate person, man. I'm a very passionate person. And I don't want to, I definitely don't want to be somebody who says to people that you're going to hell. Because the truth is, God doesn't put anybody to hell. I think people choose that they want to be in hell. And I want them to know that God doesn't put anybody in hell. He puts the people in hell that want to be in hell. He grants them what they want. And I'm not righteous. I'm no better than anybody out there is. I'm no better. I may know some things more than you. I may possess a skill that you don't have, but it's the vice versa, right? It's the same thing. You may know things that I don't, and you may possess skills that I don't. But that doesn't mean that I'm better than you. It just means that you have different talents than I do. And I think each and every one of us can benefit from each other if we're all sharing our talents together. Templar Night. Well, I tell you what, Templar Night, I only give those out to people who I think know won't be trolling or disrespectful here. So even if there was somebody out there who does disagree with me, but generally speaking, it's been a lot of people who do we kind of see Christ the same way, the biblical Christ. You know, we don't veer off of the biblical Christ at all. And, you know, I gotta say, man, that I think a lot of this infighting with so-called Christians is because of their denomination and what they believe in. And to be quite honest, man, I think that that's a distraction in its own, because it shouldn't be about one denomination over another. The point is Christ. That's what all Christians need to be focusing on. Not what denomination is better than the other, but who Christ is, what he taught. And we have to be sharing Christ, not a certain denomination of a church. It's foolish. See, when that happens, then a lot of people get turned off of Christianity because of what they've experienced in the churches. And then they in turn point the finger they point the finger at Christianity as a whole because of whatever they experienced, the bad experience they had in their church. It should always be about Christ, not about the church. It should always be about Christ. The church is we're the body of Christ. Let's not promote the church. Rather, we should be promoting Christ. I think this is where a lot of people kind of lose it, man. They promote the church rather than Christ himself, risen. What's going on, Hulk? Thank you for stopping in. So let's go back to scriptures here. Let's share more of the scriptures here, because I think it's important I think we all need this. I think we all do. Whether you follow Christ or you don't. I think there's something to be learned here for people to be quiet sometimes rather than to speak. Right? Give me a minute here. I'm looking through here so I can share the proper scriptures that I want to. Okay. Let's go here to Proverbs 29. Proverbs chapter 29 from verses 11 through 14. Okay? A fool uttereth all his mind, but a wise man keepeth it in till afterwards. And man, I tell you, dude, goes back to the video that we saw earlier, man, where that young man just wanted to say, and not just take the time and listen. You know, sometimes it's not what you say. that's a lot more powerful than the things that you do say. You ever thought about that? Because sometimes there's a feeling of what you don't say has more validity, more truth, and more power to it than what is said. Let me read on here. If a ruler hearken to lies, all his servants are wicked. And like I said, look what the schools are teaching the youth. Because when I revert back to that video, you see all that vomit spewing out of his mouth. That's definitely something learned. And if he's radical like that, it's got to be from a school. It's got to be from a school. Or read on. The poor and the deceitful man meet together. The Lord lighteneth both their eyes. The king that thankfully judgeth the poor, his throne shall be established forever. I think the key to this one is verse 11 and 12. Right? A fool uttereth all his mind, but a wise man keepeth it in till afterwards. If a ruler hearken to lies, all his servants are wicked. That's the key verses right there. So I think it's safe to say that we're all guilty of this from time to time. You know, we feel very convicted about the things that we want to share, and we believe it to be true, and we just want to speak over somebody because we want to win an argument. And this is one reason why I don't like arguing, because it becomes at least for now, for me, it becomes about the flesh. It becomes about me reverting back to my fleshly want of wanting to be right, the pride. And this is why I can honestly say to myself, at least for now, that I don't like debating people, because I know me. And that's honesty for me. I think as I grow in this journey with Christ Almighty, I think, hopefully, and I pray about it every day, that patience becomes more. I'm able to receive patience even more. Hopefully, every time I pray about it. And I'm hoping that I can grow into patience so that I'll be able to step out and maybe have some kind of back and forth with somebody who doesn't necessarily agree or doesn't agree at all. You know? Hulk says, I try to avoid endless debates because pride creeps up. Yeah, me too. Me too. But I think at some point in time, there has to be there will be a time that's a needed thing to happen. I think we're all going to encounter some point in time where we have to stand. And when we stand on the word. We defend the word the best we can. There's going to be a time for that. For me, I can admit that I am not strong in that. I'm not strong. But the more I continue on every day and have my relationship with Christ and talk to him, read scriptures, learn from other people who know more than me, I'm learning, man. Because ultimately, I think everybody, I think you all know this too, that one day we're going to have to stand for the word of God and we have to defend it. Not necessarily having an argument, but to defend what our belief system is. We have to defend that. And we have to stand strong on that. What's going on, Miss Noelle P? Great to see you. Dell says God pinpoints each one of our worldly personalities and flaws. It's awesome. Slow to speak. Absolutely. Absolutely, man. And then, like I said earlier, in the beginning of the stream, I had to step away from behind this microphone. I had to stop because, having to lose it on the last stream, man, I had to step away from it And I had some maturing I had to do. And from time to time, we all got to step away from certain types of things in order for us to become a more mature person and to, you know, to understand that. Axiom says, no one comes to the Father lest he be drawn. That is an effectual drawing toward Christ and away from sin. Absolutely, I agree with that. And that's, see, a lot of young people, they don't understand that. They think that, and even the arguments that they make, they want God to dictate everything that we do in our life. And that wouldn't be an all-loving God. They don't understand this. Either they don't understand it or they just refuse to hear it, because when people start to explain that to them, it still doesn't compute in their brain. So much for higher learning, right? So much for being more educated. The most educated generation. So much for that. That all goes out the window if you can't even rationalize what's being said to you. Because it makes sense to me. If God is an all-loving God, He's going to make you decide whether you want to love Him back or not. Matter of fact, He's limited His power. They don't understand this. They don't understand this. And who knows, man? Maybe it's pride. Maybe they really don't know, or maybe they just don't want to know. I'm going to lean a lot on they don't want to know. And it goes back to what I said earlier. People don't want to be told no. People don't want to be told that they're bad. They don't want any of that. They don't want to have to take responsibility for that. So if they live a worldly life that has no good or no evil, then they can do whatever they want. And like I said earlier, that when you get older, that becomes emptiness inside you. Then what? Then you say to yourself, then what's the point of all this living? See, they don't understand that having a relationship with Christ is the most fulfilling thing that you can ever have. Because God knows what's best for you. He knows what's best for you better than you know what's best for you. And you know that what's best for you is, if God's intention was to give you the best that He wants for Himself, He knows it's good for you too. Because I know that. Because He knows how much fulfilled I am now that I have Him in my life. He knew. I didn't know. Hulk says, most people who reject Christ outright are not even willing to hear or witness nor the evidence in many cases. That's true. But if you realize that, then there's no point in continuing the conversation. You just cut it short from there, right? You just cut it short from there. You don't have to stand there and keep on trying to give them evidence of the existence of God or what it is. If they just choose to refuse, then hey, all right, bye. Hope you have a fulfilling life when you get older. They'll come around. If they don't, they choose to do so. They choose not to come around. But they at the end of the day, when judgment does come, they can't say to God that, oh, I wasn't given the opportunity to hear about you. I wasn't given the opportunity to receive the Gospels, which is BS, because people like us, what do? We share it all the time. People just don't want to hear it. They choose not to hear. Daryl says, I used to be an unbeliever. Man, I was a believer, but I didn't want to have a relationship with God. I believe that God exists, but I said to myself, man, I know God exists, but sheesh, man, I think I'd rather do what makes me happy. I didn't want to live up to that. I didn't want to be held responsible for which is kind of stupid because I did believe, even when I didn't have a relationship, that God does exist. You know, and that's when I said to myself, man, I'm okay with going to hell, which is, looking back now, it's stupid. Stupid of me to say that kind of thing. Let's see here. People reject the witness of their own conscience concerning reality. They will also reject Christ because reality reveals our sin nature. Yeah, but I think the society that we live in now, a lot of people, they love to double down, quadruple down, triple down. They just love to add on to the wrongness of what they're doing, which is very sad. You know, they don't want to accept that they were wrong. There's nothing wrong with being wrong. We can't be right all the time, man. You know, I think a lot of young people think that being wrong is a bad thing. There's nothing wrong with being wrong. How else do you learn? How else do you go through life without making mistakes and being wrong? You have to be wrong a lot in order for you to get right. I don't understand what are not the parents guiding their children this way? Are they not telling them that it's okay to make mistakes here and there, but just not to repeat it? Are they not telling their children this? Because it's like one of the basic things in life. Yeah. We all started somewhere. We all had to make all of us, even to this day, we still make mistakes. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong. How else do you mature? How else do you gain more knowledge without the mistakes? But a lot of, they just think that they're right off the bat, man, which is, I don't understand how they come to that conclusion. Pride, I don't know. Demonizing bad, wrong decisions, mistakes, they should be embraced. Mistakes should always be embraced because it's an experience that you learn from, and you're supposed to grow from them. Oh man! All right, let me see what's here. I'm gonna be killing this here in just a bit. Miss Noel says, I have follow seniors that give me the dead fisheye stare when I tell them about Jesus. That I think, how much time do you think you actually have? It's sad, isn't it? Especially if you're having these interactions with older people, senior citizens at that. Their time is ticking, but yet they get upset at the name of Christ himself. If only they knew, man. If only they would just take that step across the line to at least look into Christ, reading the Gospels and what he taught and how he lived. If only they would take that step towards that. But they can't because of pride. It's a very sad thing. And now they're probably just waiting for the time for them to, you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying without me saying it. Daryl says the lake of fire was made for the devil and his angels, not us. I love Jesus. That was me too. I always believed, but I wasn't ready to give up sin. Thank you, God. The Holy Spirit chastised me. Man, if only people understood that chastisement was a good thing. If only people understood that. But this is not the world that I at least when I grew up being chastised. Yeah, at the moment I thought it was wrong, but man, boy, I look back and say, man, if I wasn't, I probably wouldn't be here, like behind a mic speaking about Christ at all. So, anyhow, that's my time for tonight. I appreciate you guys coming by, and I apologize for the last stream. And that was not holding my composure was a bad thing. That just goes to show the maturity of my spiritual walk. I'm still growing. I grow every day. And I think there has to come a point where we do break at times, but we still got to hold our composure. If we put all our trust into Christ, then we shouldn't really worry about a lot of things. And that was wrong of me to break the way I broke. That was wrong. If I'm going to say that God's got me, then I got to live it. I got to live the words that I say, or else I wouldn't be genuine about the things that I say at all. So, anyhow, thank you all again for joining me. Don't know when I'll be on again, but I just want people to know that I'm in and out. I'm typically in people's live streams. I'm not really interacting because I think, I took today's read, and a lot of the biblical reading I've been doing lately is about me just being quiet. So I may be in a lot of people's streams and listening to them, because I know I like to put out a lot of things on the chats. I think for me, I have to pull myself back because I have a lot more learning to do rather than to say things. I'm a student of Christ, and I want to be able to be correct about the things that I say. And I want to be able to be the one who lives what I say. So I'm pretty sure I'll see you guys in the chats. And wherever we go. And I know Hulk, because he's got a fellowship later on tonight. But just know that I'm in the chats. And I hope that you guys have a wonderful week. And if I do come back on, don't forget to hit that like, share, subscribe button, the bell. Hit that bell so you'll know when I'm on. And also follow me on the social medias, because I do post my schedules there too when I go on. So I'm not telling you to follow me on the social medias for numbers. I'm just telling you, if you enjoy what you hear here, I post my schedules up on the social medias. And I also post out my daily reads out there too. So I hope you guys have been blessed. And I'm very grateful for all you guys who spend your precious time with me here tonight or any night. I'm very grateful. And it is only through my Almighty God up in heaven, who has blessed me, who has allowed me to do this every time I'm here, and who has blessed me to deliver the daily message to each and every one of you. I don't do this for myself. I do it because I love God. God has showed me that He was so merciful to me. And all I'm just doing is trying to pass it along to somebody who thinks that whoever thinks out there that they're not good enough. It doesn't matter, because we're all not good enough. But at least let Christ into your heart. At least let Him into your heart, because from there the changes will happen, not by your own doing per se, but because you want to start living like Christ and sharing that. So I hope you've been blessed, and I'll see you whenever I see you. God bless you all, and have a great night.